So Labyrinth opens in a park with this girl, Sarah, acting out a scene from a book which also is called Labyrinth. There's also an owl watching her performance. That's important for later. She's in the middle of trying to remember the line she can never get right when the clock starts chiming and she realizes that she's late. So she runs home in the rain and is met by her stepmother, who is upset that Sarah is an hour late for babysitting her baby brother.
Sarah, you're an hour late.
I said I'm sorry.
Please let me finish.
Sarah is upset about having to babysit in general and does not appreciate the stepmother scolding her.
We were worried about you.
I can't do anything right, can I?
Her dad tries to talk to her, but she tells him that there's nothing to talk about, then gets mad when he doesn't keep trying to talk to her. That's when she realizes that her teddy bear, Lancelot, is missing. She storms into Toby's room, that's the baby, and finds him with the bear. She proceeds to tell him an angry bedtime story about a baby getting taken by goblins because the girl in the story said the words to get the goblins to do so. Little does she know there's actually goblins listening to her and waiting for her to say the words. The only problem for the goblins is that the words from her book aren't the actual words she needs to say.
Oh, that's not it.
Excellent. That rubbish. It doesn't even start with I wish.
She goes to leave the room despite the baby still crying, and on the way out says the right words without knowing they are the right words.
I wish the goblins would come and take you away. Right now.
She's only a few steps away from the door when the baby stops crying, so she goes back to check on him. In place of the baby, she finds a goblin in the crib instead of her brother, then a bunch of goblins start running around the room and freak her out. That's when the owl from the park swoops in through the window and turns into the Goblin King Jareth. He turns down her initial request for her brother back and instead offers her a crystal. When she turns that down, he transports them to his world on the outskirts of a giant labyrinth with a castle in the middle. He tells her that she has 13 hours to solve the labyrinth before the baby turns into a goblin forever. So, Sarah heads on over to the labyrinth walls where she meets this guy, Hoggle. After some finagling with him, he shows her how to get into the labyrinth. The only problem when she's in the labyrinth is that there appears to be no turns. Luckily, she meets this little guy.
Did you say hello?
No, I said hello, but that's close enough.
Who is arguably the most precious character in this entire movie.
Oh, me? Nah, I'm just a worm.
And he shows her where the turns are. Unfortunately, in his attempt to be helpful, he sends her in the wrong direction.
Oh, if she'd have kept on going down that way, she'd have gone straight to that castle.
She meets a couple of door guards who give the famous "one of us always lies, the other always tells the truth, but you can only ask one of us" riddle. Her solution is to ask what the other one would say. She goes through the indicated door and promptly falls down a hole.
I think I'm getting smarter. This is a piece of cake.
She's caught by some helping hands who ask if she wants to go up or down.
We are helping. We're helping hands.
She chooses down, so down she goes. She lands in another hole where she runs into Hoggle again. Sarah bribes him to help her go as far as he's able to in exchange for her bracelet. It turns out he really likes shiny things and has a whole collection of them. He then makes a really cool door to get them out of the hole, and that door leads them to a hall of false alarms that are honestly kind of funny.
Beware,
Just
Fuzzer!
forget it.
Oh, please. I haven't said it for such a long time.
Once they're out of that hall, a crystal rolls past them and leads them to Jareth, who had been watching this whole exchange through his crystal balls. He asks Sarah how she's finding his labyrinth, and she makes the mistake of saying that it's a piece of cake. So Jareth sends a giant drill after them. They manage to get away from the drill by breaking down a weak wall, which conveniently has a ladder that goes back up to the surface. They wind up back in the same general location she was in before she fell through the hole. Hoggle decides to quit there, since he never actually said how far he would take her, just that he would take her as far as he was willing to go. But Sarah snatches his shiny collection, so he has to help her if he wants them back. She decides to ask for directions from this random guy and a half who is not helpful. In the process of introductions, Sarah says Hoggle is her friend. This throws Hoggle for a loop since he's never had a friend before. Immediately after this, there's a loud scary noise and Hoggle runs away. It turns out to be a big creature being tormented by some goblins. Sarah helps him by throwing rocks at the goblins to chase them away. This is Ludo. He also does not know how to get through the labyrinth, but he still goes with her. They find another pair of talking doors, but the doors don't actually know where they lead.
Where do these doors lead?
What? Search me? We're just the knockers?
So Sarah just goes through the nicer one. This leads them to a forest that Ludo does not like, and then he gets swallowed by the ground. Sarah starts calling for Ludo, and when she doesn't get a response, she switches to calling for Hoggle's help. Hoggle hears her from wherever he is, and immediately turns to go help her, only for Jareth to be right behind him. Jareth gives him a crystal peach to give to Sarah when he finds her, and says that if he doesn't give it to her, or if at any point she kisses him, he would banish him to the Bog of Eternal Stench, wherever that is. After wandering for a bit, Sarah runs into these really weird creatures, who can dismember themselves and don't understand that she can't. To get away, she takes off their heads and tosses them away, only to have them chase her, saying that if she tosses their heads, they get to toss hers. She ends up running to a dead-end wall. Thankfully, Hoggle is there to meet her and tosses down a rope for her to climb up. She's thrilled when she gets out, so ignores Hoggle's protest and kisses his cheek. They are then immediately dropped into the bog. Conveniently, that is also where Ludo got dropped. On the way out, they meet this little guy, Sir Didymus, who is the guardian of the bridge that is the way out of said bog. After a couple of unsuccessful attempts to cross and a duel between Sir Didymus and Ludo, where Didymus pronounces Ludo a knight of equal skill,
Sir Ludo, if that is thy name, now I, Sir Didymus, yield to thee.
He decides to go with them. Except then the bridge collapses after only Hoggle is across, so Ludo uses his roar to call some stones to him and make big stepping stones. Once they're all across, Hoggle tries to drop the peach into the bog, but he's stopped by the disembodied voice of Jareth saying that Hoggle should not do that, so Hoggle doesn't. A little while later, Hoggle gives the peach to Sarah and leaves the group after she eats it. She collapses under a tree and falls into this weird dream trance thing where she's at a ball with Jareth. Then a clock starts chiming, so she tries to get away and smashes the bubble with a chair. She lands in a huge junkyard where Ludo and Sir Didymus find her.
Let's go quickly, we don't have much time.
Hoggle is also there and sees them leaving, so follows them. The trio get to the city gates and walk right past the sleeping guards, despite Didymus's best efforts to wake them up.
Open up right now!
They immediately get closed into the courtyard, and a giant golem steps out of the wall and starts attacking them. That's when Hoggle jumps onto the head of the golem and tosses out the goblin who was driving the thing. He attempts to drive it, but promptly breaks it instead. They have a moment where Sarah forgives Hoggle for giving her the peach and returns his trinkets, then they all go into the city to find Jareth. They are then met by an ambush of goblins. The goblins chase them around the city until Ludo calls the rocks to help them. The rocks deal with the goblins, and the party runs into the castle. Sarah goes on by herself because that's the way it's done, for whatever reason. She winds up at this really weird staircase where both Toby and Jareth are. She runs around trying to get to Toby while Jareth sings a really creepy song for a full-grown man to be singing to a 16-year-old. She ends up jumping off a higher spot to try to reach Toby, but instead the stair maze floats away and she lands on a platform with Jareth. She ends up just reciting the scene from the book she'd been practicing at the start of the movie, and when she actually remembers the line she always forgets, that's somehow the solution to defeating him.
You have no power over me.
She then gets transported back to her house with Jareth as an owl, who immediately flies away. After making sure Toby is in fact back, she decides to give him Lancelot, which is what started all of this in the first place. Once she's back in her room, she says goodbye to all of her friends in the mirror, who hop out of the mirror and into her room where they all have a dance party, while Jareth flies away from where he was watching her through the window. So yeah, that's Labyrinth.